The state of Missouri is once again trying to ban local municipalities from enacting eviction moratoriums. Will it pass this time? I don't know. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of the state of Missouri. And as you know, I invest in Missouri, okay? I own 6 duplexes in Independence, Missouri, and, I'm actually looking at selling them pretty soon, so I might not be invested in Missouri much longer, but I do think Missouri is a good place to invest. But here's a big problem, right? After the pandemic, a lot of local municipalities, they passed eviction moratoriums, and I'm 100% opposed to eviction moratoriums, but it's even worse when you say, hey, there was a state level one in place, there was a federal level one in place, and there were local level ones in place as well. So landlords were caught in this mess of 3 different separate systems in place in some places, right? And what I would rather see there be is one rule for at least an entire state, if not for the entire country, okay? But the one rule being eviction moratorium should be illegal. But what they're trying to do in Missouri is say, hey, well, local municipalities, they can't pass their own eviction moratorium when the state says there is none in place, okay? So they're saying that the state is in charge, and I like this. I like this because overall, Missouri is a much more, landlord-friendly place than, say, Kansas City or St. Louis is on a micro scale, okay? Kansas City and St. Louis will try to pass very progressive policies that are very anti-landlord, and I just don't like that. I don't like that at all, and we've seen that recently with them, passing the ridiculous rules forcing landlords to take Section 8 tenants in Kansas City. So let there be one set of rules for landlord-tenant law throughout the entire state, and stop having these little, our local city wants to pass a different little set of rules. And so, there's confusion between landlords and tenants and even the people enforcing the laws of what exactly has to be done. So let's hope that they figure this stuff out and they pass laws that say, hey, there is this one large set of rules for the entire state. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. So obviously they want to pass this rule banning eviction moratoriums or banning local jurisdictions in Missouri from establishing their own eviction moratorium. So my question is, do you think this rule is a good idea? Do you think this will actually help landlords, or do you think it will hurt? Okay. Now, if there is a political shift, this could end up actually hurting landlords, because then the people in the state house could pass laws, and more rural areas of the state, etc., would be unable to fight against those laws on a local level. So, this could end up being a negative thing in the long run. So I understand why people wouldn't necessarily want statewide level rules like this to pass. So, but for now, with everything being said, it seems like it would be a good way to make sure that there aren't a bunch of local jurisdictions passing ridiculous eviction moratoriums. So anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from stlouistoday.com, and it says, Missouri House aims to stop local eviction moratoriums. Let's get into it. For the 3rd time since the pandemic, the Missouri House endorsed legislation Wednesday that would ban local governments from enacting moratoriums on evictions. The measure, sponsored by Representative Chris Brown, a Republican from Kansas City, would ban municipalities from approving bans on evicting renters if they are not specifically authorized by state law. All we're trying to do is protect property rights, Brown said Wednesday. And it would protect property rights, right? And, the way that it's worded here in the article says that it would ban municipalities from approving bans on evicting renters if they are not specifically authorized by state law. And keep that in mind, okay? So if the state law authorizes an eviction moratorium, then you could have the local level eviction moratorium. So like I said before, if there is a political shift where all of a sudden they think, oh, well, you know what, this sort of thing is necessary. My personal opinion is, Why are we trying to merely do it this way? Okay? Instead, what this guy should be doing is ban eviction moratoriums. Literally ban it. That's what the rule that they should be trying to do is. Not ban local municipalities from putting in place eviction moratoriums. But banning eviction moratoriums completely, 100% banned. Like they shouldn't be allowed at all, whether the state enacts it or whether the state wants it to enact it or the local government wants to enact it. And that would put a lot stronger protections out there for landlords. St. Louis and St. Louis County imposed local eviction moratoriums in 2021 after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down a national moratorium imposed by the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The measure has previously stalled in the Senate after winning House approval. And I actually did a video on one of the stalled proposals a while back, and I was hoping that it would pass. Unfortunately, it did not, and I'm not exactly sure what was holding it up. Maybe there was political opposition to it from people who are more tenant friendly. Okay, we'll just say it like that. But this time it might be a little bit different. This is a good first step, but like I said, I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with this at all. Brown said the federal moratorium made sense at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, but its continuation by local governments exacted unnecessary financial hardships on landlords and contributed to economic turmoil. The federal moratorium was coupled with millions of dollars in rental aid, partially distributed directly to landlords. And I disagree with him there, okay? He said that the federal moratorium made sense at the start of the pandemic. It never made sense. It always was unconstitutional. It always was wrong, right? They were running scared, like, everybody's going to get evicted. Well, here's my question, right? Why was an eviction moratorium even necessary? Okay? We have a bunch of people who, due to the government, lost their jobs and then suddenly were unable to pay their rent, the simple solution would have just to be put into place immediately a rental assistance program. Immediately pay the people the money that they need in order to pay their rents, just so they can get by until after the pandemic. Why was an eviction moratorium even necessary? It wasn't necessary. The only thing it did was it enabled the government to not have to pay rental assistance. And then, they said, they had millions of dollars in rental aid that was partially distributed. Keep that in mind. They say partially distributed because a lot of landlords were never made whole. They will never be made whole. They will always have, just that loss on their record books for rental income that they didn't get because they couldn't evict this tenant, yet they had to continue to pay their bills. So, even the rental aid was so flawed. I mean, it would have took so much money that it would have been impossible to cover all of the expenses, okay? And that's why they wanted to put all the burden on the backs of landlords. And, I covered so many videos about the eviction moratorium. I created this whole channel so I could complain about that because it was the most egregious just violation of landlords' property rights I'd ever seen in my life and that we might ever see. I mean, I talk a lot about other things like rent control, just cause eviction, but the eviction moratoriums themselves were literally them telling you, you have to house this person and get paid nothing. I mean, I've never heard of nothing so crazy. So that's why I say I'm a strong believer that they should be permanently banned. Okay? They should be written into the Constitution that those things specifically are illegal. Brown also contended the free rent might have encouraged more tenants to fall behind in monthly lease payments, leading to more evictions that could have been avoided. Yeah, exactly. Okay, it encouraged them to not pay the rent. That's the problem. Okay, you encouraged people not to pay. People who had the ability to pay. Dumb. It was absolutely dumb. So we'll see where this law goes. I'll put a link to the article in the description down below and let me know what you think. Okay, do you think this is the right way to go, or do you think like me that just totally banning eviction moratoriums would be a much better move?